Peter Munya's comments on Azimio members joining Ruto's cabinet. In a recent interview, former Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya criticized President William Ruto for appointing members of the Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya coalition to his cabinet.
With a lot of respect to our partners in Azimio, led by a man we respect a lot, Raila Odinga, tunawatakia kila laheri katika serikali. We wish them well in government, but they must make a decision to move completely in government or stay in the opposition, but they can't be in two places at the same time. The government requires to be checked. One way of making sure the government performs is by having a strong opposition that keeps the government on its toes. And you cannot keep the government on its toes when you are sharing the same table with the government. You can't be inside the government and at the same time outside. Na tukisema hivyo si ati tuko na ubaya wowote na mtu yeyote. We are just saying we believe we can play a better role ourselves in PNU when we're in the opposition, and we are telling our brothers who are with us in Azimio, let them also make that choice. If they have decided to join the government, they join the government fully, so that now it is clear who is playing where. Right now is confusion. And we don't accept the idea that what they have formed is a government of national unity. The government of national unity cannot be formed by one person who calls the people he selects to put them in government. The government of national unity has to be done in a structured manner.
William Ruto for appointing members of the Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya coalition to his cabinet. Munya said that Ruto's appointments were a clear indication that he is not interested in uniting the country, but rather in consolidating his own power. He also accused Ruto of rewarding his cronies and of dividing the country along ethnic lines. Munya's comments reflect the deep divisions within the Kenyan political landscape. Ruto's appointments have been met with mixed reactions, with some Kenyans praising him for his inclusivity and others condemning him for rewarding his allies. Munya's specific criticisms. Munya's main criticism of Ruto's appointments is that they are based on political expediency rather than merit. He argues that many of the Azimio members who have been appointed to cabinet are not qualified for the positions they have been given.
Where the parties that are involved have a say, and a law has to be made also to anchor that kind of government in law. So where one person is picking, cherry picking, who we want to put somewhere, that cannot be a government of national unity. If it's a government of national unity, then it's a government of national unity against the people of Kenya. Because the people of Kenya have been speaking, they have been in the streets demanding certain changes. Those changes have not taken place. What has happened is a few people have been given seats at the table. First of all, I have not been offered any. And even if I'm offered, I will decline the offer. Because I think I'm better off working with the people of Kenya to bring the changes that we require than going in there to strengthen a government that people have a lot of issues with.
Munya argued that this appointment shows that Ruto is more interested in rewarding his political allies than in appointing qualified individuals to his cabinet. Munya also criticized Ruto for appointing several members of the same ethnic group to key cabinet positions. He argued that this is a dangerous trend that could lead to ethnic divisions within the country. Munya's call for unity. Despite his criticism of Ruto's appointments, Munya called for unity among Kenyans. He said that the country needs to move forward and that Kenyans should work together to build a better future. Munya's call for unity is echoed by many other Kenyans who are concerned about the deep divisions within the country. They believe that Ruto's appointments have further widened these divisions and that it is important for Kenyans to come together and work towards a more united future. In our conclusion, Peter Munya's comments on Ruto's appointments reflect the deep divisions within the Kenyan political landscape. Munya's main criticism is that the appointments are based on political expediency rather than merit. He also argues that the appointments have exacerbated ethnic divisions within the country. Despite his criticism, Munya called for unity among Kenyans. He said that the country needs to move forward and that Kenyans should work together to build a better future.
And I want to say this so that it can be understood properly, because the media keep on all the time misinterpreting what you've been saying. You said it so many times clearly that Kenya requires a national convention. We want to have a national convention that people of Kenya or their representatives will come together to talk constructively about problems which are facing our country today. Kenya is at a critical juncture. We either move forward or we perish. Because we don't want to perish, we need that conversation. And that is what I had proposed, that we must have this conversation that take cognizance of the demographic profile of our nation, and that there are several issues that need to be discussed at that convention. But I've also said that there matters precedence, issues that must be dealt with first before that convention can be had. This includes, number one, compensation for the families of the victims of violence last year and this year. Two, paying of all the hospital medical bills of the victims of police violence of last year. Number three is a release of all people who have been arrested and are in police custody. Number four is the dropping of all the pending charges which are pending in courts. Number five is the sacking and prosecution of all police officers who have been involved in criminal violence against innocent Kenyans who are actually exercising their rights as enshrined in the Constitution. And then we said that once that has been done, then people will sit down and dialogue. And we've also actually come up with what that dialogue should be about. The issues that have been raised by Gen Zs are not new issues. There are similar issues which we raised last time. Even last year we were on the streets. We talked about unemployment in our country. We talked about high cost of living in our country. We talked about corruption, rampant corruption in the country. We talked about tribalism and ethnicity, discrimination in our country. And then we talked about management of debt in the country. These are critical issues that need to be discussed. But thirdly is the issue of governance. You have a new constitution, but we are not actually following that constitution. There are issues which were pending. Kenyans met at Bomas of Kenya and deliberated for a very, very long time and came up with a very, very progressive constitution. That constitution was bastardized to a certain extent during the so-called Naivasha process. We must go back to the Bomas draft constitution, put it back on the table, and see what needs to be cleaned up so that we can have a progressive constitution. So you said, therefore, that it's on the basis of that kind of elaborate process that we can then talk about a government of national unity. But then you say that if you want to take some of our experts and get into your government, we release them to join your government and work in accordance with the ethics of our party, ODM and Azimio. This is what we said. We have not changed. This position has not changed. We said we want to see a new Kenya, and the people of Kenya are entitled to it. And that's why we said we agree with Gen Z in their demands. Gen Z demands are the demands of the people of Kenya. Irul Kamana. Alo sa mga niya, irul Kamana.